Hey y'all, I'm Faith. Blah, 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 blah. Let's try that again. Hey y'all, I'm Faith. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I am a full-time stay-at-home mom, part-time bookseller, all-the-time reader, living and working in Eastern North Carolina. And today, we're wrapping up all the books I read for the 2020 Read-A-thon. So the Read-A-thon is a Canadian read-a-thon started by Kayla from Books and Lala. She had a bunch of co-hosts this year. I don't have the list in front of me, but I will link her website below with all the details. It was really cool to see a bunch of new to me booktubers. So I got to find not only more Canadian books, but more Canadian booktubers. So if you watched my TBR video, you know I did not plan to read any of the prompts from the bingo board. I'll put that here. But I was on vacation, kind of. No, not kind of. Yes, I was on vacation. My husband and I dropped the kids off with his parents and went to stay in a hotel on the beach and didn't see anyone, talk to anyone, or have anyone in our room for 3 nights. We just walked out to the beach, grabbed takeout, walked back in, and it was so nice to be away from the kids. But because we did that, I knew I didn't want to determine what books I was going to be reading, and we left. We got there the day before the readathon started. So I just brought a whole bunch of books. Turns out 2 of the advanced reader copies I was excited to read were by Canadian authors. So I read 4 books, and let's talk about them. The first book I read is Hench by Natalie Zena Walscotts. She is a Canadian author from Toronto. This book is technically billed as literary fiction, but it also could be one of those crossovers with, it's got elements of sci-fi, it's got elements of horror, content warnings right up at the top for major body horror. Not like, no, yeah, major body horror, like Wilder Girls body horror. I was reading this on the beach, and the entire beach heard me scream at one point because, something happens, and I was like, ugh. So what is it about? Let me tell you. This is the story of Anna. She is a temp in a world in which superheroes and villains exist, and she is a temp for an agency that supplies people to do data entry and spreadsheets and stuff for villains, because even villains need a good spreadsheet, and a girl's got to make some money. So she's doing that job. She only takes jobs that she can do remotely, and then one day she gets offered a position in an office, and she takes it, and she ends up in a situation where she is there when a villain is committing a villainous act, and she gets hurt, and she gets fired, so she has no money. She's in extreme pain. She's got a very serious injury, and so she starts thinking about all that she has lost because of this one superhero. She gets hurt by the hero, but the heroes are never prosecuted for hurting anybody. And so she starts thinking about the fact that she got hurt, the fact that some people were killed, and she starts going through tallying up the cost in years of life that she has lost and that other people have lost in this one incident. And then she starts adding up this one hero, all the years that have been lost just by him, and then calculating that as opposed to a major earthquake or a tsunami. And she starts building this huge number, and so she starts a blog, keeping track of it and reporting the stats, and it starts to take off. And from that, she gets a job, and it goes from there. She gets a job, and her job is to make heroes' lives miserable. And she starts doing that, and it goes from there. There is, she's working for a villain, so things happen that are not so pleasant, and she has to reconcile with how far am I willing to go to take down the heroes, because I think they are just as bad, if not worse, for our world. A villain will just do what they want, sacrifices be damned. A hero will destroy things unnecessarily to save someone. So it was really good. I listened to part of it on audio because Libro FM sent it to me, and then read the other half in print. It was excellent. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I cannot wait to see what this author writes next, because this is just like it was so good and so gross, and I highly recommend it. So that's Hench by Natalie Zena Walschatz. It will be out in September from William Morrow. And then you might have heard there was a hurricane recently. Well, that was while we were at the beach. I live far enough east that at one point it was going to hit us at the beach, and we were like, maybe we should stay home. And then the next thing we knew, it wasn't hitting the beach, and it was hitting our home. So my brother came and stayed with the dog and made sure the house was okay, and we went ahead and went because we didn't know where it was going to go or how fast it was going to be. But it wasn't it was major enough, but it wasn't some of the other storms that we have seen. So we rode it out in the hotel. We lost power, but I have a book light. So I sat with my book light and read most of The Marriage Game by Sarah Desai. This is the story of Layla and Sam. Layla is the daughter of restaurant owner. Both of her parents operate a Michelin star Indian restaurant in San Francisco. And Sam is also from the Indian American community, but he has rejected the culture and tries to distance himself from it as much as possible because of something that happened to his sister. And he works for a company that helps people downsize. So he's the guy who comes in and fires everybody, or tells you who you should be firing for like big company mergers and stuff. So Layla's family runs this restaurant. It's on the ground floor of a building. They are responsible for the ground floor, and then they have an office on the floor above it, and then there's other offices in the rest of the building that are rented out. She comes home after a pretty hilariously bad breakup. She loses her job. She's in recruitment. And so her father, she just comes home, and her dad's like, well, I rented out the office upstairs, but I'll tell him not to come, and you can have it, and you'll start your own agency, and it'll be great. And then he has a heart attack, like within the first chapter. So he has a heart attack. She thinks she's getting this office, and then Sam shows up. He thinks he's getting the office, and so they're opposed. Like, she has a claim on it. My father is in the hospital. This is what he wanted. You should just renege on the lease. And Sam is like, no, I have a lease. I don't care what you say. I am going to stay here. And then someone shows up to date Layla because her father had put her on a dating website to find her a husband. So they end up making a bet. And if she's going to go on the 10 dates her dad set up and not tell her family. So Sam is going to be her chaperone. And during that time, she will work in the office. And then if she finds a husband, she will leave and Sam will get the office. But of course, they fall in love. It's very sweet. It's very funny. It's snarky. It's enemies to lovers, and but they share an office, so they're together all the time. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. The sequel is coming out in the spring. They just announced the cover. It's purple. I'm very excited because I think these covers are gorgeous, and you know how much I love a pretty bookcase. So one day I'll show you my romance shelf. It's over there. It's getting full now, finally. Yay! So that is The Marriage Game by Sarah Desai. And then I read another arc that I didn't know was Canadian. This is Barely Functional Adult by Mei Ning. This is a graphic novel memoir, kind of. But she combines prose with comic to do a, memoir style essays. So this is, the official copy will be full color. Mine's black and white because it's an ARC and they're not going to spend that kind of money, which I totally understand. I'm just excited I have it in print. It's coming out from Harper Perennial in November, 11/24. So this is based on her life. It is her observations of the world. She talks about things like moving to a new city, technically new country. She moved from Canada to Seattle for a while and not packing until the day before because she just didn't want to. Or going to a restaurant and ordering drinks and realizing you're ordering the party drink of college kids, but you're 30 now. So really you just want a glass of wine, but you're ordering drinks because you don't want to admit you're old. Those kinds of things. It was really fun. It was really cute. I read it in a day. I love the little barely functional adult character. It is not every, let me see if I can find it. Yeah. She has a story about her pet fish. Every comic, she is portrayed by barely functional adults. So it's a non-gendered, just little blob. And then everybody else is people. So you kind of can identify with the character, even if you're not like her. So I thought it was really sweet. I think it would be a really good, like I said, it comes out in November. So it's a really good holiday gift, especially in these times where you can't really hang out and you kind of just want to send a 20 or 30 something year old adult who's on their own and stuck because of COVID and can't really go anywhere and do anything. This is just a fun, very relatable book, and I now follow her Instagram. So that's Barely Functional Adult by Mei Ning. And then the last book I read was the one I was most excited for to read and took me the longest, even though it's the shortest book, and that is Cracked Up to Be by Courtney Summers. She is the author of Sadie. This is the re-released copy, the re-released cover from Wednesday Books that they printed up to match Sadie. And so I immediately bought it and put it aside because I knew I wanted to do the Read-A-thon this year. And it is devastating. It is one of those books that's really hard to figure out what's going on and you just kind of keep reading and reading and reading. It is about a teenage girl dealing with a trauma. And her way of dealing with the trauma is she's trying to destroy everything about her life. She was a straight A student. She was captain of the cheerleading squad. She was type A at the height of everything you could possibly want to be in high school. Super popular, dating the captain of the basketball team. And something happens and she feels a huge amount of guilt. And so her way of doing that is she starts drinking at school, she quits the squad, her grades plummet, she's just trying to get through to graduation, but she doesn't want anybody to care about her. She's very manipulative and takes her type A control personality that she always had over academics, and she puts it on being the biggest fucked up kid she can be. It's a really good book. It's a very hard book. If you've read Sadie, you know that Courtney Summers can just write devastated teenage characters. It's just so upsetting, but really well written and compelling, but devastating. And there are triggers for just everything awful that can happen to a teen, from sexual assault to alcohol and drug abuse to animal death to manipulation to parents who don't understand you, who just want you. Oh my gosh, her parents just want her to be like normal, but it comes across as, I want my perfect daughter back, and it's not okay for you not to be perfect. And it just, as a parent, crushed me, because I knew, like, they want her to be okay, but the way they deliver it is just not working, and it was just heartbreaking, but so good. So I do recommend it, with the caveat that you're gonna need like chocolate or something while you read it. So that was Courtney Summers' Cracked Up to Be. So these are the 4 books that I read for the Read-A-thon. Hench, which has red on the cover. The Marriage Game, which has nature on the cover. Barely Functional Adult, which is something that's not a novel. And Cracked Up to Be, which is a Canadian Award nominee. This was one of the children's prizes, or Canadian Read. I can't remember, but this was nominated for stuff. As you can see, I'll put it here. That means I did not hit bingo. I skipped 1 and then skipped 2. So I didn't hit bingo. I didn't read everything I wanted to read, but I read a ton. You will see when I do my wrap up that week. And I'm happy with what I've been reading. So it's okay not to hit bingo every time. Right? So let me know down below if you did the Read-A-thon. What were your thoughts? What did you read? What was your favorite read? Did you learn about any new Canadian authors, publishers, topics? Like, tell me everything. I like that. And I will see you soon. Like, comment, subscribe,